Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you are joining me in a more regular car. This is an Audi A5 Coupe. It's not even an S-Line. My car has gone in for a service and oil change, so I've got this for best part of the day, and I thought, you know what, I might as well just do a little vlog on it, just because it's a more regular car and my videos going forwards are going to be probably more, you know, in line with what 80-90% of us guys out there and girls out there buy a regular car as a workhorse. And that's exactly what this car is. This is a workhorse with a little bit of flair. And just excuse me while I come out this junction. Now I'm on my way to work, hence the shirt and the jacket and all of that good stuff. And I'm really going to just use this car as a commuter car today and give you my kind of view as to how this car is. And straight off the bat, let me just give you a little bit of an overview of this car. It's like I said, it's not an S-Line, it's a regular A5. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles on it. It's finished off in black, and as you can see, it's got a bit of chrome work on it, which is fine, and I think it's riding on these 18 or 19 inch wheels as they are. It rides quite well. I've had the car for almost an hour and I'm still commuting to work. It rides quite well, as it's not the S-Line, so it's on softer suspension, and I think that makes it a real nice comfy cruiser. The engine on this car, like all modern Audis, the engine designation is, you know, really out there, you know, anyone's best guess. It's a 35 TDI, and I did a little bit of research, which basically means it's a 2-litre diesel engine inline 4-pot, and it produces in the region of about 160 odd horsepower and about 380 newton meters of torque. You can get the 40 TDI, which ups the power slightly to 190 horsepower and a little bit more torques as well. The engine itself is quite refined in this car. You don't really hear it as much, but you do feel a little bit of vibration under load, and that's just something to be wary about. Now in this video I am going to talk to you guys about the drive and how it feels, but more so about the quality of this car. I do like the interior dash in this car. It is quite nice. I like how you've got the digital ventilation information and temperature controls in the dials, and everything on the face of it is perceived to be of high quality. I'm going to use the word perceived in this video quite a bit, because being an Audi, you'd always kind of think that every material touch point that you touch and feel is of high quality, and that is the case in most instances. So for example, the steering wheel is really nice. It's the leather wrapped around it feels much more of a better quality than you'd find in the equivalent BMW. Now I used to have a G20, so I knew exactly how, you know, that car was built and the materials that were used, and I ran that car for almost 2 years, and you know, that was a complete flawless car in the way everything was put together. So in this Audi, I'm a little bit disappointed with, like, say, the build quality and the type of materials that they've used, especially around touch points. Like I said, the steering is quite nice, nicely wrapped in leather. The top of the dash is made of soft plastic squidgy material, which is quite good, but I'm a bit disappointed with, like, the material that they've used on the door tops here. Like, it feels not as soft to the touch, or certainly not as soft when you want to just put your elbow up here and drive like that. And also, if you can hear this, it's a very scratchy material, and some of the plastics down below in the tunnel here, again, they're quite hard, brittle plastics, and obviously when your leg is resting on them, it does feel a bit hard to the touch. I can forgive you for that, because in most of the cars those plastics are a little bit harsh, but the G20 did have some real nice soft materials even low down, which was why it became such a nice sort of cabin to kind of sit in. Traffic control going off there. So like I say, I mean, some of the touch points in this car are a little bit coarse and quite harsh, and for me, Audi has always been about using high quality materials. I mean, if I go back, say, 10 years and, you know, you jump into like an Audi B7 of, like, say, the, you know, mid 2000s or late 2000s, the quality in that car was way better for the time, and it was quite high up on there, and it was pretty much the benchmark. What's happened since then is Audi's quality, in my eyes, has kind of remained fairly flat, and the competition has caught up and probably even exceeded it. Then there's the infotainment system. Now Audi have done away with the rotary dial, and they've just gone for a full MMI system using a touchscreen, and that's not a bad thing, because I've got the same system in my Audi A7. Now the difference in my Audi A7 is the touchscreen is slightly lower in the dash, and then you've got a second screen which is even further down, which controls all your heating and air conditioning controls. And the best thing about that system in that car, or the placement of the screens, is you actually use the gear stick lever to rest your arm on or your wrist on, and then you can play around with it and everything seems to be in easy reach. Whereas with this one, it's slightly higher up on the dash, which isn't a bad thing because it's more in your line of sight. But when you're on the fly and you're trying to touch everything, it just becomes a little bit more difficult, because at times if you're going over bumps, you are kind of hitting what you're trying to get to. So the perceived build quality of this Audi on the eye looks pretty good, but when you start getting quite close up to the detail of the materials used, you do start to question how this car has actually been put together. I mean, look at this seat back panel's already falling apart. No idea what that's about. Not something that you'd expect from a brand new car that's done less than 1,000 miles. So it is a little bit hit and miss in here, and you can tell that this car was designed quite early on compared to some of the cars now, and they're just trying to adapt to bringing this car in line with the rest of the Audi range. This car is probably going to be due for a refresh very soon, over the next year or year and a half or whatever, so it'll be interesting to see how they move the game on. So as you can see, I'm just sat in traffic pretty much. This is my morning commute. I've got about 40 minutes of this. And I just thought, you know, I might as well just do this little vid and put some of my thoughts on this car for you guys out there. Like I said, these are workhorse cars, and 80-90% of us buy these cars for a daily use anyway. I think, like I said, the engine it's adequate enough. You know, you got the drive select, you can throw it into different modes. This engine and this powertrain, it's meant to do about 70 miles per gallon, according to Audi, that is. I wouldn't bank on it. It'd probably get you, like, say, top 50s or something on the combined journey. Currently I'm at 37 miles per gallon, which is, in all honesty, it's probably the same as what I normally get from my A7, and that's a bigger car and it's a heavier car as well. It's a bit more effortless to drive that, I think. This Audi A5 is a front wheel drive model, so there's no quattro system in this car. This isn't even an S-Line. I believe it's probably like an SE or something like that. So the styling on this car isn't as aggressive or sporty looking, which, to be honest with you, it's not a bad thing, because it kind of just proves that not every car out there has to be an M Sport or an S-Line or an AMG line or whatever those kind of derivatives are. I think this is still quite a nice, stylish, refreshed model from Audi, and probably to a point looks a bit better than the competition out there. The Mercedes C-Class Coupe has now been a bit long in the tooth and is due for a refresh very soon. The new BMW G22 4 Series is a bit of a hit and miss. I do like the rear end of that car, but the front end just looks like a bit of a goof troop, so I'm not even going to go there to compare it against that. This car does look very stylish, and it does get the blend really well. It's a kind of a car, when you pull up and you just come out of the car and you look back, it's not a bad looking machine. Around the rear end, you know, again, it's got quite a nice sort of a striking profile. You've got the rear haunches that, you know, again, perceive that this car can be fitted with the quattro system. The ride quality in this car is pretty good, and I think the major contribution for that is that this car isn't an S-Line and this is fitted with the standard springs, and it rides pretty good. If this had the S-Line suspension fitted to it, I am 100% sure that the car would have felt a little bit more twitchy and, you know, just a bit more crashy as well. And I think it helps that it's got the smaller wheels on as well. Now, they don't look that great to the eye, but again, they go a long way when you are just pulling around and just going over some battered roads like the way I am at the moment. I can't knock the refinement in this car. I mean, for a 4-pot engine, from the inside certainly, you know, you hardly hear it at all. You get a little bit more kind of, you know, vibration through the pedals and you know, not through the gearbox as such, because you're never really changing gears, but you do get a bit more vibration through the cabin, which kind of unsettles the car a little bit. This isn't really a car that you're going to be throwing around a country lane. You know, yeah, it'll handle it quite well, but it's not really a car that, you know, you're going to go out for a spirited drive. At best, you know, you're probably going to just put your foot down a bit just to get her out of traffic. But overall, you know, it's okay. I'm deliberately going over this road which is under resurfacing, so it's very rough, and you got raised ironworks, and it's not really unsettled, and you don't really feel any. Let's try this big bump there. Yeah, you don't really feel much, to be honest with you, in terms of unsettled ride. It's pretty good. Check this out, guys. I'm giving you my honest opinion by coming down this road notwithstanding that it's actually the road for my actual route to work, but coming down this pretty much unsurfaced road to give you a view of what the suspension is like. So if I was in the Mercedes C-Class Coupe, I think that would feel very similar in terms of ride quality. Might have felt a little bit more comfortable, and I think it probably felt a little bit more special on the interior compared to this as well. But on the G20 or the G22, I think that overall is still, like, say, the benchmark in the class in driver's information. Doesn't match up to, say, the virtual cockpit in the Audis. I think this is pretty good, and I think the Mercedes MBUX system is now pretty decent as well. But I think this car doesn't really give you, even in S-Line form, it won't really give you a true driver's experience if that's what you want from a regular car. But I do like sitting behind the wheel of this car, because when you do look at how this car has been designed, the little details like the ventilation controls, the knurl effect on the dials, the way you've got the LCDs that are built into, like, say, the dial as well, that show you the temperature. I think that's a real cool feature. I'm not gonna lie about that. I remember seeing that on the Audi TT back in the day, in, like, say, 2015, and I was like really amazed with how they went to town with that level of detail. So I think overall, you know, it's not a bad sort of car from a package point, but I do feel that the competition has actually, you know, come up and above Audi in terms of, like, say, the materials that they're now using, you know, even in the regular cars, and, you know, the actual quality in the competition beats the perceived quality in an Audi. And I think for me that's a bit of a letdown from this model anyway, especially from, like, say, some of the touch points that you kind of feel and you kind of, like, say, touch on a daily basis. Like I said, another downside is the footwell seems to be quite tight. Where you've got the footrest, there's a bit of a lump on the side of the tunnel which eats into the footrest area, so the footrest becomes pretty much like a null rest. That's a bit of a shame there as well. And the pedals there are offset, you know, even though this is a automatic, you know, you've got no clutch pedal, it does feel like they're a bit offset, and you do feel, I wouldn't say hugely twisted around the back here, but yeah, you can just feel that, you know, your feet are that way a little bit. And I think that's the same with, like, any BMW as well at the moment, so, you know, you get very used to that. Ooh, they found me. Very soon see, like, another Audi going past, undercover car. Hello. So my verdict on this car then, what is it? If I went and spent 40k on this car, whether it's like a cash or a finance package purchase, I wouldn't really be too disappointed in the way this car is set up and in the way this car performs. The engine, I think, has got enough power in it to get you from A to B relatively quickly. 0 to 60 is about 8.5 seconds. Not mega fast, but not mega slow either. The end gear shove seems to be pretty good. The gearbox is, I think it's a S-tronic in this one, so it's quite quick as well to kind of shift up and down in. It's quite responsive, and the fuel economy isn't too bad either. Depending on what car you're coming from, chances are you probably come across into this car as a bit of an upgrade, so from that point it's no bad thing, because, you know, the quality isn't too bad, you know, regardless of my point made about the door tops and the few scratchy materials down below and stuff like that. You know, that's quite a minor point in something like this. The ride is very supple, and generally the infotainment system works quite well. You can hook up your iPhone, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and it'll be absolutely fine. I kind of think though, when you're looking at a car like this, you will also be looking at its competition, and I think the competition do things a little bit better in different departments, mainly probably build quality and driving dynamics. But if you want something that's like a long distance cruiser and, you know, very effortless to drive, then, you know, this car does it pretty much well. And not to say that the competition don't, because they will do as well. I kind of think it just comes down to, you know, on cars like this, the best possible deal that you can get. So, you know, whether that's from a price point or a service package or whatever that might be, and again, those are going to be, you know, quite competitive in pretty much whichever car that you look at. Now, having owned a BMW 3 Series of the F generation and the current one on the market, I kind of think that this car with a refresh coming due very soon, it will be more closely aligned with the BMW in terms of its, you know, kind of build quality, and, you know, probably with an uprated system and whatnot. But nevertheless, there's some great packages, you know, and great deals to be had on this car. So, you know, if you were to go out and buy this car, I think you'd be quite content with it. And overall, I do think that, you know, it's quite a nice cruiser. And I think with the recent refresh that this car had when it was facelifted a couple of years ago, I kind of think that, you know, it's still up there as a stylish coupe. So when you do park the car up, you will definitely look back on this car and kind of think, you know what, you made the right choice in buying this car. And that's my overall verdict on this. Hopefully, guys, you have enjoyed this content. If this is the kind of thing that you like on regular cars, then drop a comment in the comment section below, and, you know, I'll do my best to get my hands on more regular cars as well as performance cars, of course. Do check me out on my Instagram, because if I do miss something on a vid, I will put it up on an Instagram post and write a blog about it. I did have an Audi A4 all-road, and I did like a little write-up on that, so that's on my Instagram, so you can go and check that out. Hopefully, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.